What if I told you that forgetting where you put your keys, and forgetting what keys are two completely different things? One is normal aging. The other could be an early warning sign of dementia. Today I'm breaking down 7 key differences between normal memory changes and something more serious, so you'll know exactly what to watch for. And stick around, because sign number 5 surprises even doctors. Here's something that might put your mind at ease. As we get older, our brains naturally slow down a little. That's completely normal. You might misplace your glasses, blank on a word for a moment, or forget why you walked into a room. These are common, everyday moments, and research suggests they happen to nearly everyone over 60. But dementia is different. It's not just slower thinking, it's a gradual decline that interferes with daily life. The tricky part is telling the two apart. So let's go through this together, one clear sign at a time. And remember, only a doctor can give you an actual diagnosis. Sign number 1 is about memory. In normal aging, you might forget the name of someone you met once, or forget a small detail from last week's lunch date, but later on, it comes back to you. That's a normal memory lapse. With dementia, it looks different. A person might forget an entire conversation that just happened, ask the same question 5 times in an hour, or forget important recent events altogether, and the memory doesn't resurface later. Research suggests this happens because dementia affects the brain's ability to store new memories, not just retrieve old ones. If this kind of forgetting becomes a pattern, it's worth mentioning to a doctor. Sign number 2, struggling to find words. We've all had that moment. The word is right on the tip of your tongue, and a few seconds later, it pops back into your head. Totally normal. But with dementia, word-finding trouble goes further. A person might stop mid-sentence with no way to continue, substitute strange words like calling a watch a hand clock, or lose track of a conversation entirely. It's not about being a little slower. It's about language itself becoming harder to organize. But before I tell you sign number 3, remember, one sign alone rarely means dementia. Sign number 3 is about direction and navigation. Occasionally forgetting where you parked the car? Completely normal, especially in a huge parking lot. Most of us have done that. But getting lost on a walk you've taken 100 times, or forgetting how to get home from a store you've shopped at for 20 years, that's different. This kind of disorientation, especially in very familiar places, is one of the signs doctors pay closer attention to. It suggests the brain's internal mapping system may be struggling. If a loved one seems confused in familiar surroundings, gently checking in, and looping in their doctor, can make a real difference. Now, before we get to sign number 4, let's pause for a second. If you're recognizing a sign or two in yourself or someone you love, take a breath. Having one of these moments does not mean dementia. Life is stressful, sleep gets disrupted, and stress alone can mimic several of these signs. What matters most is the pattern. Is it happening more often? Is it getting worse? And is it affecting daily life? Keep that in mind, because sign number 5 is the one most families miss completely. Sign number 4, changes in mood or personality. As people age, it's normal to become a little more set in your ways, or more cautious in new situations. That's just part of getting older and wiser. But dementia can bring on personality changes that feel out of character, a normally easygoing person becoming unusually irritable, suspicious, anxious, or withdrawn, seemingly overnight. Family members often describe it as they just don't seem like themselves anymore. Research suggests these shifts happen because dementia can affect the areas of the brain that regulate emotion and social behavior, not just memory. If someone's personality changes suddenly, that's worth a conversation with their doctor. Sign number 5, the one I mentioned earlier, trouble with familiar tasks. Everyone occasionally needs a reminder for a new gadget or an unfamiliar recipe. That's normal learning. But imagine someone who has cooked the same family recipe for 30 years suddenly forgetting the steps, or struggling to follow a favorite card game they've played for decades. That's not about learning something new, it's about losing a skill that was once automatic. This can also show up as trouble managing bills, medications, or a daily routine that used to be second nature. It's one of the clearer signs that something beyond normal aging may be happening, and it deserves a medical evaluation. Sign number 6, changes in judgment and decision-making. We all make the occasional questionable purchase or a decision we regret later, that's just being human. But dementia can affect judgment in more noticeable ways, giving away large sums of money to strangers, wearing clothes completely wrong for the weather, or neglecting personal hygiene in a way that's out of character. This happens because dementia can affect the brain's frontal lobe, the area responsible for planning and decision-making. Families often notice this sign before the person does, which is exactly why gentle, caring conversations, and a doctor's opinion, matter so much. Sign number 7, repeating questions or stories. Telling your favorite story again at a family dinner? Totally normal, we all have our favorites. But asking the same question 5 minutes after it was already answered, over and over, without realizing it's been asked before, that's different. It suggests the new information simply isn't sticking. This can be frustrating for family members, but it's important to respond with patience, not correction. It's not intentional, and it's not something the person can control. If this becomes frequent, it's a strong signal to schedule a checkup. And now, the sign I promised would surprise you, pulling away from social activities. It sounds small, but research suggests it can be one of the earliest warning signs, sometimes showing up before memory problems do. Someone who always looked forward to book club, church, or Sunday dinners with the family may start making excuses to stay home. Sometimes it's embarrassment about memory slips in front of others. Sometimes socializing has quietly become exhausting for a brain working harder than it used to. This is different from simply enjoying more quiet time as we age. If a loved one who was always social suddenly isolates themselves, it's worth mentioning at their next doctor's visit. So what should you actually do with all this? First, don't panic, and don't try to diagnose yourself or a loved one from a video, that's not what this is for. Second, start paying attention to patterns, not single moments. A forgetful afternoon means nothing. A forgetful pattern that's getting worse over months is worth discussing. Third, and this is the most important step, talk to a doctor. There are simple, non-invasive cognitive screenings that can help sort out normal aging from something that needs more attention, and catching changes early can open the door to treatments and support that make a real difference. A doctor's visit isn't scary, think of it as gathering information, the same way you'd get your blood pressure checked. Let's do a quick recap. Normal aging looks like occasional forgetfulness that resolves itself, while dementia often looks like a pattern that interferes with daily life, memory, language, navigation, mood, familiar tasks, judgment, repetition, and social withdrawal. Here's your action step for tomorrow. Pick one person you love, and simply check in with them, not to diagnose, just to connect. Connection is protective, and it's also how you'll notice if something's changed. If this video helped you, hit subscribe, because Health After 60 posts practical, science-backed videos like this every week. And if you want to know the 5 foods that support brain health after 60, I've got a video linked right here for you.